Hey class 251, I'm Thomas, and what I'm about to do today is to talk to you about my research paper. My research paper was basically about why codes of ethics or conducts are so effective and federal institution for public servants to follow. I believe in the effectiveness of such a code of conduct or ethics because they provide a type of guidelines for public servants. For instance, a code of conduct would set standards, values, and regulations that public servants must abide and follow whenever they provide decisions or actions to citizens or society. Consequently, we can say that a code of conduct or ethics provides equity, fairness, and interpersonal relationship between the states and also the citizens. Nevertheless, I'm quickly going to provide you guys information about why code of conducts are so important for society and citizens. Code of conducts will be important because since the 80s and 90s, the Canadian public sector has went through many different kind of reforms. In consequence of these reforms, public servants have a lot more discretion and powers for the decision or action they take as of today. Therefore, it can be argued that there is an increased need for ethical guidelines for public servants, so they could basically know their limits and what they should do or not. Furthermore, as a society or as citizens, we have huge expectations of our political institution. Consequently, this leads for public servants to be under huge pressure. For instance, the public has a certain baseline expectation that we would like public servants to follow. For example, citizens expect public servants to not use their position for private gain. Citizens also expect that public servants should never disclose confidential information, as well as they should make clear judgment with respect to conflict of interest. Right now, you're sitting there and you're probably wondering, what is a conflict of interest? Well, a conflict of interest is basically a circumstance in which a politician or public servant holds a personal interest in a policy or a program. As a result, his position or role is compromised. So how do we actually avoid conflict of interest? Well, there are three values that public servant must follow, which is objectivity, impartiality, as well as equality. To support this idea, I will use an article called A Code of Conduct for Parliamentarians, a long wrote by Margaret Young. Young argued that the two key features that underline our conflict of interest is impartiality and integrity. This led to her belief that a decision from a public servant or even politicians cannot be seen as justified if he or she was to benefit somehow of his or her decision. Furthermore, according to Dr. Fournier, there are actually three really simple tools to avoid conflict of interest, which are disclosure, withdrawal, and avoidance. I'm actually not going to go in depth about those concepts because the definition is pretty clear. And Fournier argued that if politicians as well as public servants were to use those three tools, a lot of conflict of interest would be avoided. Consequently, we can argue that code of conduct or ethics are important because it actually contributes to the trust that citizens give to political institutions and decision makers. In fact, by establishing a set of rules, standards, and values that public bureaucrats must follow, the government is basically telling the population that citizens will be treated equally in an impartial way, as well as this will lead to a much more fair society. As a result, it is fair to deduct that our code of conduct will reduce the potential loopholes that can occur to the decision-making process of a non-elected official, so-called public. Moreover, such a guideline will increase the confidence that citizens have to political institutions, which is really what government wants at the end of the day, that the public trusts them. Regardless, this is my conclusion. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video because I really had a blast doing this. See you guys next time.